"How dare you abandon your family like this?" and my father roared, his face turning a dangerous shade of crimson as he paced across the sprawling deck of their lakefront property in Lake Tahoe. "Your sister desperately needs that startup money, and you're acting like we're asking for your kidney. You make six figures, for God's sake." I stood frozen on the weathered cedar planks, still clutching the property assessment notice that had been casually handed to me minutes ago. What was supposed to be a relaxing Sunday brunch had transformed into a full-blown ambush about why I wasn't stepping up anymore. The beautiful Sierra Nevada mountains that had always brought me peace now seemed to be closing in around me. My name is Olivia Mitchell, and at 34, I've built a successful career as a software engineering manager at a major tech company in San Francisco. I wasn't handed anything on a silver platter. My current position came after years of grueling 80-hour weeks at startups that eventually failed, teaching myself to code through sleepless nights, and navigating the notoriously competitive Bay Area tech scene as a woman from a middle-class background. For the past 6 years, I had been quietly covering the property taxes on my parents' vacation home in Lake Tahoe, $14,750 annually, paying for my younger sister Ashley's Range Rover lease, $895 monthly, and funding family vacations to places like Hawaii and Aspen without ever being thanked. It was my way of giving back to the family that raised me, or at least that's what I had told myself. "Dad, I've been covering these expenses for years," I finally replied, my voice steadier than my trembling hands would suggest. "The property taxes, Ashley's car payments, your Alaskan cruise last summer. I've never complained. But I can't keep being everyone's financial safety net forever." My mother sat silently at the teak outdoor dining table, absent-mindedly twirling her mimosa glass, her eyes fixed on the crystal blue waters of Lake Tahoe. She wouldn't look at me, and somehow that silent rejection hurt more than my father's shouting. "We supported you your entire life," Dad continued, completely ignoring what I'd just said. "And now when Ashley is finally about to make something of herself with this boutique fitness studio concept, you're pulling the rug out from under her? Under all of us?" That's when I noticed it, a manila envelope resting on the glass side table, partially obscured by my mother's designer handbag. The corner of what appeared to be an official document peeked out, and I could make out the words Trust Fund Agreement and Ashley Mitchell in bold, legal typeset. My stomach plummeted. Before my father could react, I reached for the envelope. "Olivia, that's private," he snapped, lunging forward. But it was too late. I was already scanning the first page, my hands shaking as the truth revealed itself in cold, legal terminology. My father, Richard Mitchell, former investment banker turned financial consultant, had established a trust fund for Ashley, and only Ashley, to the tune of $475,000. The same father who had told me repeatedly throughout my college years at UC Berkeley that there simply wasn't enough to help with my tuition, forcing me to work 30 hours weekly at a campus coffee shop while maintaining a full course load in computer science. The same father who now expected me to continually bankroll their luxury lifestyle while secretly setting my sister up for life. "When exactly were you planning to tell me about this?" I whispered, a strange numbness spreading through my body as I continued flipping through the documents. The trust had been established 3 years ago, right around the time I had received my first major promotion and substantial salary increase, information my parents had apparently noted and acted upon. Dad snatched the papers from my hands, his movements jerky with barely contained anger. "You weren't supposed to see that," he muttered, stuffing the documents back into the envelope. "Clearly," I replied, my voice hollow. I looked toward my mother, hoping for some explanation, some acknowledgement of the staggering inequity. She finally met my gaze, her expression a practiced blend of sympathy and manipulation I now recognized all too well. Sweetheart, she began, her voice gentle and placating, your sister needs more support than you do. You've always been so independent, so capable. Ashley is, well, she's Ashley. We're just trying to give her the foundation she never had. You've already established yourself so successfully without our help. The twisted logic nearly knocked the wind out of me. I was being punished for my success, for my resilience, while Ashley was being rewarded for her perpetual dependence and poor financial decisions. All those times I asked for help, I said slowly, memories flooding back in a painful cascade. When I was working 2 jobs during college and couldn't afford textbooks. When my car broke down my senior year and I had to take the bus for 3 months because I couldn't afford repairs. When I needed first and last month's rent plus security deposit for my first apartment in San Francisco, and you told me to figure it out like an adult. I paused, the realization crystallizing. The money was there. It was always there. It just wasn't for me. Dad shifted uncomfortably, his athletic frame suddenly seeming smaller against the backdrop of the 3,800 square foot vacation home I had been helping to maintain. Investment decisions aren't that simple, Olivia. We had to think about the future. Just not my future, I replied, the words tasting bitter. I thought about the financial contributions I'd made to my family over the years. The property taxes on this Lake Tahoe home alone, $14,750 annually for 6 years, totaling $88,500. I'd covered the $27,000 deck renovation last summer without complaint. I'd paid $9,600 for my mother's cosmetic dental work that her insurance wouldn't cover. When Ashley's previous car was repossessed due to her missed payments, I'd stepped in to lease her new Range Rover, a commitment of $895 monthly for the past 3 years, another $32,220. The county reassessed the property value this year, Dad said, changing the subject as he slid the tax notice across the table toward me. Taxes are going up to $16,200, due next month. And the Homeowners Association has raised their annual fees to $3,800. I stared at him in disbelief. After what I'd just discovered, he still expected me to pay. The audacity was breathtaking. I'll take care of it, I said quietly, picking up the notice. My father visibly relaxed, completely missing the resolve hardening in my eyes. The drive back to my San Francisco apartment was a blur of mountain roads and internal turmoil. I barely noticed the usually breathtaking views of the bay as I crossed the Golden Gate Bridge, my mind replaying years of financial manipulation and favoritism. Once home, I ignored my constantly pinging phone, no doubt my father ensuring I wouldn't renege on the property tax payment, and opened my laptop. With trembling fingers, I navigated to a spreadsheet I'd meticulously maintained for years but never thought I'd actually need: family financial support. The document that appeared represented thousands of dollars I'd poured into my family's lifestyle: 6 years of Lake Tahoe property taxes, $88,500 Ashley's Range Rover lease payments, $32,220 deck renovation, $27,000 mother's dental work, $9,600 father's retirement party at the Fairmont, $15,450 family vacation to Hawaii, flights, villa rental, activities, $22,800 Ashley's emergency credit card debt payment, $11,400 parents' Alaskan cruise, $8,600. The total made me physically ill, $215,570. Over 6 years. All while my parents secretly funneled money into a trust fund for my sister. My phone pinged with a text from Ashley. Dad says you're being difficult about the taxes. Don't be so selfish, Olivia. You know how much this lake house means to everyone. I laughed bitterly. Of course she would take their side. She had been the beneficiary of their favoritism her entire life. Our childhood had been filled with examples. Ashley got horseback riding lessons while I was told to focus on academics. She received a brand new Jeep for her 16th birthday while I took public transportation until I saved enough from my after-school job to buy a used Honda Civic with 120,000 miles on the odometer. When college decisions came around, Ashley went to NYU with full parental support despite her mediocre grades, while I cobbled together scholarships and part-time jobs to put myself through Berkeley's demanding computer science program. Another text arrived, this one from my father. The tax office needs payment by the 15th, don't forget. No thank you. No acknowledgement of what I'd already contributed. Just the expectation that I would continue financing their lifestyle while they built a financial safety net exclusively for my sister. The next morning, I called in sick to work, something I never did, and drove to meet with Eleanor Wright, the financial advisor who had helped me navigate my investments since I started making serious money 3 years ago. This is substantial, Eleanor said, reviewing my family contributions spreadsheet, her eyebrows raised at the total. And you've never requested any form of repayment? They're family, I said simply. I wanted to help. Eleanor removed her glasses and fixed me with a serious look. Olivia, your generosity is admirable, but this arrangement is financially unsustainable and, frankly, emotionally unhealthy. You're sacrificing your own financial security while enabling dependency. I know that now, I said quietly. I just discovered they've created a significant trust fund for my sister while letting me shoulder all these expenses. Eleanor's expression darkened. That changes the equation considerably. For the next 2 hours, we developed a comprehensive plan. I would need proper documentation of all my contributions, notarized statements, formal receipts, a complete accounting of everything I'd given. Eleanor recommended her colleague, James Martinez, a forensic accountant who specialized in financial disputes and family wealth issues. Are you certain you want to pursue this? Eleanor asked as our meeting concluded. Family financial conflicts can get extraordinarily messy. I thought about the trust fund document, about years of being told there wasn't enough money to help me while Ashley received everything, about the property tax bill my father had pushed across the table with the casual expectation that I would handle it. I'm sure, I said, my voice stronger than it had been in days. It's time they understood exactly what I've been contributing all these years, and what happens when that contribution stops. As I left Eleanor's office in the financial district, weaving through the busy streets of San Francisco, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years when it came to my family, power. 1 week after discovering the trust fund, I sat in James Martinez's modern office in downtown San Francisco, surrounded by printouts of bank statements, transfer records, and receipt copies. The forensic accountant had been methodically organizing my financial contributions to the Mitchell family over the past 6 years. Your documentation is impressively thorough, James noted, sorting through the evidence. Most people don't maintain records this detailed. My software engineering background had instilled good data management habits. Every transaction, every transfer, every expense, all meticulously logged and categorized. So what's the final tally? I asked, bracing myself. James slid a document across his desk. The final calculation was even worse than my initial spreadsheet had indicated, $231,784. The additional $16,214 comes from the interest you've lost by diverting these funds from your own investments, he explained. Based on your portfolio's average performance over this period, that's actually a conservative estimate. I nodded, feeling a strange mix of vindication and grief. The numbers made the betrayal concrete, undeniable. What now? I asked. That depends on what you want, James replied. If you're seeking legal restitution, we could potentially build a case, though family financial matters can be complex without formal written agreements. If you're simply documenting this for personal closure or as leverage in family discussions, we can prepare a comprehensive financial statement. The second option, I said. For now. As James prepared the official documentation, my phone buzzed continuously with messages. Dad, haven't seen the tax payment posted yet. Due date is approaching. Ashley, Dad said you haven't paid the taxes yet. What's your problem? After everything they've done for you? Mom, Olivia, please call us. Your father is getting concerned about the tax deadline. I silenced my phone. Let them wonder. 3 days later, I received a notarized financial statement from James's office detailing every cent I'd contributed to my family over the past 6 years, categorized by recipient, purpose, and date. It included calculations of lost investment opportunity and a statement from Eleanor Wright verifying the legitimacy of the analysis. That evening, my mother called. I answered on the 4th ring. Olivia, your father is concerned about the property tax payment, she began, her voice carefully calibrated to hide any tension. The due date is next Tuesday. I'm aware of the due date, Mom. Well, will you be handling it? You've always been so reliable about these things. The casual assumption in her tone ignited something in me. 6 years of payments without so much as a thank you. 6 years of giving while they secretly built my sister's financial safety net. Not this time, I said quietly. There was a long pause. What do you mean? I mean I'm not paying the property taxes anymore. Or any other family expenses. But we're counting on you, her voice took on a frantic edge. The money is already allocated elsewhere. To Ashley's trust fund, you mean? The words hung in the air between us. Another long silence. Your father told me you saw that, she finally said. Olivia, you have to understand. I understand perfectly, Mom, I interrupted. I understand that I've contributed over $230,000 to this family in the past 6 years while you and Dad have been telling me there wasn't enough money to help with my education or housing. I understand that I've been financing your lifestyle while you've been securing Ashley's future. That's not fair, she protested weakly. No, I agreed. It's not. I ended the call and turned my phone off completely, knowing the real storm was yet to come. The next morning, I methodically made 3 significant financial changes. First, I canceled the automatic payment for Ashley's Range Rover lease. Second, I removed myself as an authorized payer on all family accounts. Third, I transferred $230,000 from my brokerage account to a new separate investment fund labeled My Future. For the first time in years, I felt unburdened. The weight of constant family financial expectations lifted from my shoulders. The fallout was swift and explosive. By noon, my phone was bombarded with notifications. I finally turned it back on during my lunch break at a quiet cafe near my office, watching the messages flood my screen with strange detachment. Ashley had called 11 times before sending a series of increasingly frantic texts. WTF, Olivia? The dealership called and said my car payment was declined. Are you trying to ruin my credit score? I have meetings all over the city this week for my fitness studio. How am I supposed to get around? Dad is livid. Fix this right now. My father's messages were more direct. Call me immediately. This behavior is completely unacceptable. You can't just abandon your responsibilities to this family. The tax office sent a late payment notice. I ignored them all and focused on my work. The project I was leading was at a critical juncture, requiring my complete attention. Only after wrapping up my day did I listen to the single voicemail my mother had left. "Olivia, please," her voice trembled. "Your father is beside himself." The property tax notice came with a late fee warning. "Ashley can't make her car payment, she'll lose her vehicle. We don't understand why you're doing this. Whatever's upset you, we can talk about it. Please call us back." No recognition of the trust fund issue. No acknowledgement of years of my financial support. Just pressure to resume the status quo. I was composing a measured response when my phone rang with a call from my cousin, Marcus. "Olivia," he said without preamble, "Uncle Richard just called my dad asking for a $20,000 loan for temporary tax issues with the lake house." "What's going on?" I took a deep breath and gave Marcus the abbreviated version. "Holy shit," he responded when I finished. I always wondered how they afforded that place in Tahoe on his consultant salary. "So you've been bankrolling them this whole time?" "Pretty much." "And they set up a trust just for Ashley? Nothing for you?" "Not a penny." Marcus let out a low whistle. "That's messed up, Lev. For what it's worth, I always thought the way they treated you versus Ashley was wrong, even when we were kids." His words hit me harder than I expected. I'd always assumed no one else in the family had noticed the disparity. The validation from Marcus was unexpected and deeply affirming. "There's more," Marcus continued. "There's a big family gathering happening at your parents' San Francisco condo this weekend. Uncle Richard called it to discuss Olivia's abandonment of family obligations. He's trying to rally everyone against you, including the extended family." My stomach tightened. "Thanks for the heads up." "I'll be there," Marcus said firmly. "And I think you should come too. Set the record straight." I agreed, though anxiety knotted in my stomach. Confronting my father with the extended family present would be challenging, but perhaps necessary. When Saturday arrived, I dressed carefully in a professional navy blue suit that always gave me confidence during tough negotiations. I drove to my parents' luxury condo in Pacific Heights, the financial documentation from James securely in my leather portfolio. The living room fell silent when I walked in. My father stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay, clearly in mid-speech. Aunts, uncles, and cousins sat around the elegantly furnished space, their expressions a mix of confusion and concern. Ashley sat beside our mother on the imported Italian sofa, both looking uncomfortable. "Olivia," my father recovered quickly, his voice taking on the authoritative tone he'd used throughout my childhood. "I'm glad you decided to join us. We were just discussing the Lake Tahoe situation." "I'm sure you were," I replied evenly, setting my portfolio on the glass coffee table. "And I'm sure you provided everyone with all the relevant financial information." His eyes narrowed dangerously. "We're discussing your sudden refusal to meet family obligations." "Interesting perspective," I said, opening my portfolio. "Because I have 6 years of financial records showing over $230,000 in family obligations I've already met. Money that apparently wasn't available to help with my education or housing, but was somehow available for Ashley's trust fund." A ripple of murmurs spread through the room. My Aunt Barbara, always direct, spoke up. "What trust fund?" I looked at my father, giving him the opportunity to answer. When he remained silent, his jaw clenched, I passed copies of James's summary document to everyone in the room. For the past 6 years, I've paid the property taxes on the Lake Tahoe house, covered Ashley's vehicle lease, funded family vacations, and more, totaling nearly $232,000, I explained calmly. During the same period, my parents established a $475,000 trust fund exclusively for my sister. The room erupted in overlapping voices. My father's face flushed deep red. "These are private family matters," he thundered, trying to regain control of the situation. "Exactly," Uncle David interjected, standing up. "Family matters. And in this family, we should treat our children equally." I hadn't expected this level of support. As the room divided into heated discussions, my father's gaze locked with mine. In his eyes, I saw something I'd never witnessed before: fear. The fear of exposure, of his carefully constructed narrative crumbling. And behind that fear, something even more unexpected: respect. The family meeting ended with my father storming out and my mother tearfully following him. Ashley sat frozen on the couch, avoiding eye contact with everyone. The rest of the family lingered, processing the revelations. "I had no idea it was this bad," Aunt Barbara said, studying the financial documentation. "Richard always portrayed you as the successful one who didn't need help." Uncle David shook his head in disgust. "This isn't right. The Lake Tahoe house has been part of our extended family memories for years. If you've been paying those taxes all this time, you should have some ownership stake." I hadn't considered this angle. The vacation property was titled solely in my parents' names, despite my significant financial investment in it. "I don't want the house," I explained truthfully. "I just want them to recognize the unfairness of the situation." Marcus placed a supportive hand on my shoulder. "Recognition isn't enough, Olivia. There should be concrete consequences." 3 days after the family meeting, my phone lit up with a text from my father. No apology, no acknowledgement of wrongdoing, just 4 cold words: "The property taxes are overdue." I stared at the message, incredulous at his audacity. After everything that had been revealed, he was still treating me like his personal ATM. That evening, I received an unexpected call from my mother. "Olivia," her voice was hesitant, vulnerable in a way I rarely heard. "Your father isn't handling this well. The lake house means everything to him." "More than treating his daughters equally?" I asked pointedly. Her silence was telling. "Mom, I've contributed nearly $232,000 to this family. Dad created a $475,000 trust fund for Ashley without ever offering me similar support. The disparity is glaring." "I know," she admitted quietly. "I've always known it wasn't right. But your father makes the financial decisions, and I just went along with it," I finished for her. "I understand, but this is where it stops." The next morning, I texted my father back with a single attachment, a photograph of the complete notarized financial record of my contributions over the past 6 years with the grand total circled in red. No accompanying message was necessary, the documentation spoke for itself. An hour after sending the photo, my phone rang. I expected my father's angry voice, but instead heard Ashley's. "Olivia?" She sounded shaken. "Dad just showed me all the documentation you sent." "Is it really that much? Over $230,000? "Yes," I confirmed. "Every penny documented and verified by a forensic accountant." There was a long pause. "I had no idea," she said finally, her voice small. "Dad always told me you were helping a little here and there because you had extra money. He never said you were covering major expenses while he was building my trust fund." For the first time, I heard genuine remorse in my sister's voice. Olivia, I don't know what to say. I feel terrible. It's not entirely your fault, I conceded. Dad created the situation. But I benefited from it, she acknowledged. And I never questioned it. I just assumed. She trailed off. That you deserved the help and I didn't? I finished for her. That sounds awful when you say it out loud, she whispered. Another long pause followed, then Ashley surprised me. I'm going to make this right, she declared firmly. This isn't okay. Before I could ask what she meant, she hung up. The next day, I received formal documentation from my parents' attorney. The property taxes on the Lake Tahoe house had been paid in full, along with a legally binding amendment to the ownership structure. I now owned a 25% stake in the property. Attached was a note from the lawyer explaining that Ashley had insisted on using funds from her trust to cover the taxes and legal fees for the ownership transfer. My phone buzzed with a text from my father. This wasn't necessary. Family helps family. I didn't respond. His message revealed that he still didn't understand, or refused to acknowledge, the fundamental unfairness of his actions. Minutes later, another text arrived, this one from my mother. Your father is struggling with this, but I want you to know that I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. I should have done the same years ago. That evening, Ashley called again. I've asked Dad to split the trust fund equally between us, she said without preamble. He refused at first, but Uncle David and Aunt Barbara backed me up. He's meeting with his financial advisor tomorrow to make the arrangements. I felt a weight lifting, not because of the money itself, but because of what it represented: acknowledgement, fairness, respect. Thank you, Ashley, I said sincerely. No, she replied, thank you for finally making us face the truth. I've been thinking about this constantly since the family meeting. It wasn't just the trust fund or the expenses you covered. It was everything: how they paid for my college but not yours, how they gave me a car while you had to buy your own. I never saw it before because I didn't want to. 2 weeks later, my family gathered again, this time at a neutral location, a private room at a restaurant in Sausalito overlooking the bay. My parents, Ashley, Eleanor Wright, and James Martinez were all present as we signed the legal documents establishing a revised trust structure that divided the assets equally between Ashley and me. I want you to know, my father said stiffly as he signed the final paper, that I always thought I was doing what was best for both of you. Ashley needed more help, and you seem to be doing fine on your own. It wasn't quite an apology, but coming from my proud father, it was significant. I needed help too, Dad, I said quietly. I just stopped asking because the answer was always no. He looked away, but nodded slightly, the closest to acknowledgement he could manage for now. As we left the restaurant, Ashley linked her arm through mine, something she hadn't done since we were children. Lake Tahoe next weekend, she suggested tentatively. Now that you're part owner, you should actually enjoy it for once instead of just paying for it. I smiled, feeling the first genuine warmth toward my sister in years. I'd like that. The healing would take time, but for the first time in my adult life, I felt like an equal member of the Mitchell family, not just the ATM they called when bills came due.